What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the SSJ Cast. That transition was trash because the music was not ready to be done with. So let's go ahead and pop on over. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is your lovely hosts once again. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves for once, rather than be subject to my inevitability and power.
What's up, Shaz?
Hello, I am Shazzyn. Uh, you know, I don't know. I'm big chillin', and I don't really got anything to say because the things I want to say I really can't say. So the struggle is real. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. So yeah, go ahead, guy.
Hey, it's your boy, Big Papa. Snapback and pencil. We out here. We playing them games. We doing them arts. We chilling. You know, out here being the biggest of papas. Big titty gang right here, right now. Uh, you know. Mm.
And I'm Strix. That's that's the dynamic here. Wow. So today we're gonna have it's gonna be probably a longer episode. We're gonna start off with just some general news that we didn't catch last week, and by the end of the show, once you get to like the second half of the show, it's pretty much gonna be reserved for in game and in game talk. We're gonna really probably go into it. Probably get into what happens in the movie, our thoughts. We'll try to do something spoiler free. We have a spoiler warning that will pop up on screen when we do start talking about it. Bada bing, bada boo. Shout out to Snapback and Pencil for that one. And then, this is not a 90s music video. It said you need to strike your pose. Like you're not Steve Urkel. D9, and you hit your... Yeah, but it should be a chill episode.
Excuse me.
And I will once again give a pretty big spoiler warning when we get into the in-game talk. Because I mean it's been a week. You should have seen it, but I think it's fair to talk about
I think the Russo's brothers said Monday is the last day for like the spoilers things.
But
don't spoil.
even though they
After
already
Monday,
spoiled shit. But we're not gonna talk about that. Literally, they put out a trailer that gives spoilers in it.
Hey.
All right, so let's get started. We'll start with the anime side of things, or beyond that, let's step back into just media in general, and give a big shout out and a moment of silence for Peter Mayhew. For those that don't know, that was the actor that played the original Chewbacca in the Star Wars trilogy. He's passed away due to a heart attack at the age of 74. So condolences out to his family and friends, and lost a real one.
Yep,
Really did.
Rest in peace.
I don't have any music queued up, Chad, so I can't. I also don't think it's the appropriate time for like a joke, so we're just gonna transition into talking about something new, which is the Finland Saga trailer, which is coming out. The show's coming out in
July.
There we go. Maybe you can give people Give people a background on Finland Saga if they don't know what that is and why that should be.
So, Finland Saga is a very highly acclaimed Viking manga. It's a few volumes in now. I think it's nearing 30 volumes by this point in Japan, and us with the 13th omnibus volume coming out soon. I think. It's a really good manga. Very highly respected. People very much compare it to Berserk in terms of its quality, both in art and its writing. I'm very excited to see this anime come out. I have the first volume with me, but I don't have more because I don't got money.
But yeah, I've always heard good things about Finland Saga. It has been, I don't know at this point, like I feel like years, it's been literal like 3, 4, 5 years since everybody always talks about how good Finland Saga is. and to like, hey, check it out. It's a dope thing, and so it's cool that it's getting an anime.
The anime is being produced by which studio? I think the studio behind Attack on Titan and Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Very high quality production in terms of its animation. The CG used is very good, and it works really well for what the series is intending on doing. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. It's going to be 24 episodes confirmed for 2 cours. And
is that back to back or just like?
I think it's back to back. I think it's a whole 24 episodes.
That's what like nowadays. I feel like they either do back to back or it's like 12. Take a season off 12.
This is. I think this is gonna just be a whole 2.
Okay.
Like, well, Attack on Titan is like 10 episodes, and I think that this might be the main reason why, because there's a lot of production going into this. This looks like a very high quality anime in terms of its production, and I wouldn't be surprised that if Attack on Titan was like, all right, let's do 10.
What studio just started doing Attack on Titan again? So it's like, okay.
And they're also working on the Cabaneri movie, so
yeah, they have a lot under their belt right now. For a studio their size, I feel like. So, I mean, it makes sense. Looks good. Though.
I think that's a studio that's been confirmed to have overworked staff and people going to the hospital. So
I mean, that's not.
Hopefully, the conditions improve.
That's not specific to that studio, unfortunately.
But yeah, shout outs to Matt.
And it looks like as well, based on the end of this trailer, it's coming to Amazon Prime Video.
Yep, it is.
So make sure you get that Amazon Prime up to date, and while you're at it, go ahead and hit Twitch Prime on the stream. All right, back to our regularly scheduled.
If you do use Amazon Prime, I'm gonna recommend one anime on there, Grand Blue. Very funny, good watch. Go check it out. If you don't have Amazon, pirate that anime.
Those are John's opinions. Alejandro Pupo _ on Twitter. And all the other things. Don't, yeah, I said nothing, government. I said nothing.
No, but really, get Amazon and check out those 2 shows.
Thank you.
It's a joke.
The future timeline sponsorships are already gone. Yep. They've already evaporated. They don't exist anymore.
You know damn well Amazon doesn't do sponsorships, dog.
But Crunchyroll does.
Okay.
Damn.
I'm not saying pirate Crunchyroll anime. I'm saying pirate Amazon.
No, stop this! You don't know the struggle by which you attack.
Hey, Crunchyroll, you have some high quality stuff over there. I really do respect your service. You got some really nice anime and a decent list of live action stuff. Also on Verve, so hit your brother up. It's your boy Alejandro Pupo _ Crunchyroll, what's up? I would never pirate your anime. Amazon though.
We're on an Amazon platform. As we're on an Amazon platform.
Yeah. Oh, this ain't my stream, so.
Okay. But was there anything else anime-wise? Because I know you mentioned before the show that it's been a big week. I do want y'all to send, I'll mention this later in the show, send congratulations on over to the boy. He is finishing up college. He does deserve a round of applause and some love for that. So go check him out. But he hasn't gotten around to seeing the new One Punch Man episode, and
I did see episode 3.
It's fair.
It was good.
It's fair that he hasn't seen the shit.
Why? Why is it fair?
Because you're in your last week of college. You don't.
Okay.
You got shit to be doing.
I saw one clip from the new episode, and it has me excited to watch it. Actually, in terms of this actually looks pretty good.
Okay.
Isn't college for nerds? Yes.
It's coming from somebody that I don't fucking know. All right. So, it's one category down, chat. We move closer to the end game.
Oh my
god. But let's get into gaming. And this is something I know Alejandro and Shaz will collectively nut over. We have a release for the long-awaited, the long-sought-after, the long believed to exist and was shortly previously confirmed to exist.
It's only been like 2 years.
Persona 5. No, but I feel like every Persona game you assume they're going to release.
No, it's Shaz. Don't act like Fez wasn't like a year or two after Persona 3. Like,
I know.
Come
I was
on.
gonna say it's pretty much known that Strix was alluding
Mhm.
to that every Persona has a like I wouldn't even call it Game of the Year edition because
Upgraded edition.
it's definitely like they usually change up the actual context of the story as well. So
Um, yeah. Well, okay. So the big thing I'm excited for with this game is when it came to Persona 3 Fez, you got the main game, and then the main game you got like a few like tweaks and fixes to the and patches and all that stuff. But then
back when there was no internet.
yeah, and then you get like a DLC, basically a DLC continuation. So you get Persona 3, and then with Fez, it's Persona 3 plus 30 hours of extra content. And after the game, you finish it. Persona 4 is the main game, and then with Persona 4 Golden, you get a new character, some patches, and some small tweaks here and there. What I'm excited for when it comes to this game, is Persona 5. You get new characters, new dungeons, new patches, new demons, new everything.
Yeah,
And
a new main character.
yeah, and the thing from what I'm seeing is that one we're adding, so the Persona games, the Persona series of games, they run on a calendar system in which you progress through the game on a day-to-day basis. You complete March, April, May, go through the months, go through the days. And with this game, you get a whole new season. I think is it an extra 3 months or an extra month? I think it was an extra month.
Something like that, yeah. I think.
Okay.
I don't remember what they said, but
So we get an extra month in terms of content. And also the way the trailers are setting up everything. This doesn't even look like an expansion, but more like a whole new game.
yeah, it does look really different.
There's a lot of story elements, yeah.
Yeah, there were story threads that people that were not even brushed aside, but just were like, nope,
Mhm.
that's not what's happening. And then in this one, they're like, yeah, it's kind of what's happening. I don't want to say because it's spoilers for the
Mhm.
games in the game itself, but yeah, like Alejandro said, it's interesting because Persona doesn't work on like other JRPGs where if you like get stuck on a boss, you can go grind, and do stuff like that. You can grind in Persona, but if you use all your equipment or items in a dungeon and you can't heal yourself or whatever, you have to leave the dungeon, and at that point your day's done, regardless
Mhm.
of what you want to do. It's just done. So
It's
that's
a
why,
time management game.
yeah. So it's like if you don't have enough time, if you play this game on like harder difficulties, you will literally just get stuck on a boss, and you will have to restart all over again. There's nothing you can do about it, straight up, other than maybe you get lucky or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, for them to kind of just like completely, again, it seems like from what we're seeing, I don't know if it's true or not, but for them to like completely change the story is kind of big,
Mm-hmm.
considering the regular game already took a minimum of like 100 hours already.
Yeah.
Not including getting the like canonical personas, because in Persona you there's usually one really strong persona at the end you can get, but to get it you have to play like multiple times or do like
Yep.
specific fusions, and it's like mind-boggling hard sometimes, and it's like you have to do it on specific days or with characters, and it's like that's not including the fact that you have to also like max out social links, or in this game
Mhm.
confidants, to get the best results. So I'm super interested in seeing like hard mode playthroughs of just Persona games, because you see like how stressful it can be. Games are already stressful on normal difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the fact that they're putting in this much work is
And I
kind
think
of crazy.
I think the interesting thing is because usually when it's like Persona 3 Fez and Persona 4 Golden, it's like when we talk about those games, it's like, oh yeah, you don't have to worry about Persona 3 or 4. Just play 4 Golden and
Pretty
play
much,
Persona
yeah.
3.
Just play
If
both.
this does end up being like, oh yeah, this is a completely different story, you can't. You basically need to play both, because Persona 5 has its own story, and then you get the Royale with a completely. That's only if it does have to
It's so
a
weird.
completely different story.
Yeah, it's so weird. Also, Persona 5 is the first standalone Persona game that
Mhm.
doesn't have the SMT logo on it. Persona 4 Golden didn't have SMT on it either, but that was more like an expansion type of thing.
Yeah.
So straight up, they are now completely confident that Persona can stand on its own. So I think they're trying to go hard on it, because I think
Mhm.
Persona 5 was a lot of people's first Persona, because Persona 4, because most people didn't buy the Vita, Persona 4 was on the PS2. So that was literally 2 generations ago. So
So sad.
it's.
There was a reason to have the Vita too. It's so sad.
I mean, look, the Vita's a good console. They just didn't support it.
I don't know about
No.
that.
There's a
No,
lot
you
of
want
good stuff.
to talk about no? Well, they supported it with JRPGs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Shaz,
That's,
Support.
there's only-
You know, support's a strong word. They allowed it to
Mhm.
exist.
yeah, they.
They gave
Hey,
it money. They
At
gave
least
it
it's
money.
better than the PS TV. Mm.
Okay, now we're getting into actual dead things.
Yep.
I mean, the Vita's dead. They stopped production on that recently.
Yeah,
We
that
talked
is
about
dead.
that. But,
Rest in peace.
I mean, like, I'm gonna leave that to y'all. Because if I'm not touching a 100-hour story, there.
Mhm.
I would love to be lost in it forever, but I still remember, like, the Persona 4, I don't think I ever finished just because,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's literally a day at a
Mhm.
time that you have to play through. And
And
eventually it's like, oh,
I-
Lord.
one more thing I do want to address with the Persona 5 Royale. If it does end up, I actually kind of hope it does end up reworking the story in a lot of ways, because Persona 5 for me, I love the game. It's personally a favorite game of mine. I adored every single minute I played of it. To an extent, there are a lot of elements where it's like, all right, this doesn't really feel necessary, or they underdeveloped a lot of characters, a lot of dungeons. Honestly, the first dungeon is the best dungeon in Persona 5
is.
for me. Yeah.
But to be fair, a lot of Persona first dungeons are the best ones because
Yeah.
they throw so much at you, because they always assume that it's your first Persona. So they're
Mhm.
like, this is how Personas work. This is what this is. This is what this is what everything works. And they built it around the fact that
Yeah.
you want to be invested because there's so much given at you. So they throw out like a really terrible person that you're like, yes, I want to beat this dungeon to get to this person.
But also in terms of like design and everything, it's like
I completely
yeah.
agree. I agree.
So
I think it's the fact that it was also in like development hell, because it was supposed to release on the PS3. Like it
Mhm.
was shown as a trailer in like 2010 or
I
something.
mean, it was
stupid.
Persona 5 is on the PS3, but
No, but I mean, like, it was supposed to be like a like only PS3. PS4 wasn't even talked about. That's how
yeah.
early it was.
Yeah.
They were like, this is gonna be a PS3 exclusive. Like, people didn't even think about the PS4. It was like, you can literally find pictures of it being like March 2010 or something stupid. I'm like, what? No.
You know, it takes almost a decade to get in. I do want to say, and I guess that's I want to come back to Alejandro's point. Do you think the dramatic change with the Royale version
Mhm.
is because of the kind of the fact that like ignoring Game of the Year editions, like nowadays devs can patch games lifespans aren't from launch day forward, but they're from launch day until the next game really comes out is when a
Mhm.
game officially in a lot of senses dies. Do you feel like that's why the Royale is doing so much different, right? Like they didn't have to tweak gameplay; they could just push that through the PlayStation. They don't have to.
Because a big thing is a lot of this is very much integrated into the story, and it's a thing where it's like you can't. It's not a patch thing. It's not let's tweak a few numbers and then it's fixed. It's very much the writing and the whole design, the actual layouts and elements of the dungeons and the characters. There's so much that I feel like could have been changed to the point where it's like, all right, you basically either need a DLC.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. It's like, because y'all are noting that even for Persona, this seems bigger in terms of what the changes are.
I think I think what it is Atlas being very smart and then testing it since like Persona 3 and stuff. They're like, Fez, that was back then, same thing with Persona 4 Golden, because that was in the PS, that was on the PS Vita, but whatever. It's like they were like, okay, now that online has become more of a thing, when we released Fez, there had to be its own standalone thing. Same thing with Golden, that was its own standalone thing. With Royale, they're like, okay, what I feel like it's almost like the critical mode of the game, where they're like, okay, Persona 5 vanilla is to get people into Persona, which it did. People love Persona regardless usually, and most people got in with Golden, but with this generation it makes sense. The last game was on PS2 for most people, so now they're like, okay, people like it, so now we can kind of remix it, balance stuff that people didn't like a lot. Like you said, we could patch stuff out, but why not just make a better game? Like, why not make a new game that's just better, runs better, not that it was running terribly, but make different menus, make characters that people wanted to interact with, more personas, better story beats. I literally think that they're like, I think that's what I kind of appreciate with Atlas. It's like they make the game, they still want to, like Persona 5 Vanilla, but I think that also hindered them because of like PS3 development hell, because the PS3 is notoriously terrible to make games for.
Yeah.
And now they're like, okay, with Persona 5 Royale, we can kind of do more with what we wanted, and also we can cut. I wouldn't even say get away with not making it DLC, because everybody knows Persona games are quality. They wouldn't release it if it wasn't
and big,
like good. Yeah, it's so
they're big games.
Good. Performance, story, music, gameplay, on all fundamental levels, Persona games are fucking amazing. Whether you like it or not, that's perfectly fine if you don't like it. But just from a presentation, it's amazing, and the fact that they're putting so much emphasis on this game, I think they're very lucky that they kind of almost hit like a Persona 4 Golden or Persona 4 Goldmine again, where Persona 4 was ridiculously popular. It also helped. I mean, it makes sense, right? Go figure. Persona 4, amazing Persona game that a lot of people got into. Also on the PS2, which is the most, like, the best-selling console of all time. So everybody had a PS2. It came out. Persona 5 came out on PS3, but most people have it on PS4, which is now also like their third most console. Yeah, it's like it's gonna be up to like PS1 almost. By the end of this week, I think it's gonna be PS1. It's gonna be at 100 million sales. It's already at 96, and they're already predicting by the end of this not week but fiscal quarter. They're like, it's probably gonna be PS1, which was like 101 million or something like that, something stupid. So I think I think everything was just a perfect storm. It was on a really good console that sold like crazy. And the fact that people were trying to give more JRPGs and stuff a try, because the PlayStation just completely destroyed the Xbox One in terms of numbers, that even Americans and other Westerns of people were just like, I'll try some JRPGs. Persona seems pretty straightforward. And it is. It's a very linear, straightforward game, but it's very stressful because once the game lets go of your hand, you're like, oh shit. Like, I have to level up my character. I have to do proficiency like guts, charm, knowledge, all that stuff, confidence. I gotta I gotta spend time with other people. I gotta get better equipment. I gotta get a job. I gotta go to school. Like it's like literally real life, and it's very stressful, but it's also very gratifying because you feel like you're doing something. So
because
I think
with all those extra stuff, you do interact with a bunch of characters and a bunch of outside elements that is like, oh, this is fun.
Well, none of it is
really
meaningless. I think that's what I enjoy about Persona, is that none of it is meaningless. It helps increase your stats. If you read a book, your knowledge will go up. If you work out, your guts will go out. You know what I mean? Everything you do in that game serves a purpose. So I think they were like, if Persona did, they probably would have been like, no. But knowing the install base and knowing even with the PS5 around the corner as well, probably within like the next 2 years, they're probably like, we could probably still port this to the PS5 too.
I mean, the Persona 3, well, they wouldn't have to. There's backwards compatibility.
There is, but I'm just saying a specific version just
and
for
4K.
I think Persona 3 Fez ended up releasing around the time the PS3 was already out. So and there is one thing that you mentioned that I do want to bring up. Yeah, the Persona 3 came out when the same year, PS3. But one thing you mentioned is development hell and the PlayStation 3 and developing on the PlayStation.
Yeah, it's nightmarish.
Persona 5 Royale is exclusively on the PS4. There's no PS3 release. And the big thing is this game is releasing later in 2019 in Japan. I think October?
Yeah.
October. Yeah, early 2020 for international. And this game, Persona 5 came out in like what, 2016?
Yeah, it's been about 2-3 years. Yeah, it hasn't been that long, honestly.
No.
Well, Well, the big thing is like if they have the base game and everything, and they have all the base
the
models,
engine, they have the assets.
They have most of the assets.
Yeah.
2016. That's 3 years. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
I feel like that's enough time to like rework a lot of the things you want to rework. I feel like there's a lot of time to like add in a bunch of things. It's like if they released Persona 5, they released it in 2016, and they're looking at this, it's like, we could do more, we could do better, and they started working on that like around the time they released the game. I feel like they gave themselves enough time to actually make a more polished, a more royale version of the game But, you know, no, but yeah, I'm excited. I feel like there's a lot good about this new release coming out. So yeah.
I guess for me, like the question stemmed from, and kind of Shaz hinted at it with the critical mode assessment. It's just the general difference in approach. Like them doing the Royale version the way they're doing it is in contrast to something like Kingdom Hearts 3, where Nomura has come out and said like, hey, like we exist in an age of DLC and we exist in an age of online where like, what's the point in a full mix update? Like, and I just find it very interesting that you can see still like that the industry is very in flux, right?
Mm-hmm.
Industry is very much changing. But I'm like, y'all are excited for it. That are getting me excited for it. I'm gonna ask y'all 200 hours into the new game, how y'all feeling about it, and I'm gonna be told that it's stressful as fuck, but you're gonna love it.
Honestly, I beat Persona 5 a bit quicker than most people. I beat it around 90 hours, so you know,
only 90 hours. I'm still like
still 90 percentile, my guy. Yo,
dog, like that's still the most terrifying. Like I can't think of a video game that like it wasn't that the game was hard. It was just there was that much content in the game though. Like
I think the crazy thing about Persona is I got burnt out because I was streaming. I could have definitely beat it, and I know Lena was like, I can't stream it and play this as well, but I think that's I don't want to put words in her mouth, but it's like the thing about Persona that really interests me is the fact that it grabs you the entire way. Like if you're not streaming it or doing whatever, you can beat it like within the week. But it's like if you stream it, like I said, because there's so much to do and there's so much min-maxing if you know what you're doing, that it becomes very stressful because you're like, oh, I should have done this.
Yeah.
Oh, today's raining, so the thing I'm doing today, the stats are different. If I go to this restaurant when it's raining, I know that I get more knowledge for studying that day because there's less people. Like there's little things like that you have to think about that most people don't. The game tells you about it, but you just forget sometimes.
And I honestly that's the big thing. When I first started playing Persona 5, I was streaming the game. I streamed it for a decent amount of time, and I was just like, I'm getting burnt out, and I can't do this. It wasn't until I think winter break for me, so around December, when I decided, all right, I'm gonna pick up the game again, in a time when I wasn't really streaming, and I just blew through the game. Yeah. There is a very big difference when it comes to playing a game like that. It's much easier to enjoy and just blow through it while you're not streaming it. So it's very much how you approach that game.
Also, Persona 5 is the longest Persona game as well.
It is
easily.
It is.
It's easily the longest. I was just looking up. Like I said, minimum is 90 hours for main story.
Yeah.
For how long to beat this, or the average, I guess you could say. Completionist was like 170 hours. So that's probably like every. That's probably like every Persona. That's probably like every.
All confidence, max confidence.
Max confidence at 10. Stuff like that. Probably like no deaths, nothing like that. And again, it's even though it's the longest, and you can definitely feel it. And I streamed the game for like 8 hours, 10 days straight, and I was like, I can't. And it burned me out. But it's. Again, it's not a game that drags on because it's so linear. Those 80 hours are legit. You know what I mean? There's some games where it's like, oh, it's like 1,000 hours, but it's like most of it's grinding or superfluous other stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's like, but that game's actually 90 hours. Like you can beat it, you can speedrun it if you know what you're doing, but it's still long.
I love looking at how long to beat because Persona 5, 96 hours. Persona 4 Golden, 69 hours.
Yeah.
That's a huge. That's a whole 30-hour difference right there. That's a whole game right there.
I think that also makes sense because Persona 4 Golden was meant for the Vita, so probably you couldn't play for that long anyway. People could probably only play for 20 to 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Assuming because it's a Japanese market, I'm assuming so. They probably were like, it's kind of stretching it if you can only play like an hour to work on a bus or a train, and you got to play 2 months to beat a game with only an hour, maybe a month.
You're saying that transitions very well to the next topic.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see. I want to see how Royale does because of how well the base.
I don't see it being bad in any way.
No.
Now with that, Man, do y'all like people care about Persona? Like I'm
Yes.
gonna, as you can clearly hear from the two of them, they were rattling off pleasantly about what all is going on. Well, there's something that didn't get a pleasant reaction.
So I woke up to this news because I didn't
Same.
stay up because I didn't care to watch it at the same time. So this is something I'll let the trailer speak for itself. People have the right to be disappointed because when you think of Persona, you think of maybe the game, the dancing games, or even the fighting game.
And there were like leaks too, where it's like
there
Best Buy was
Best
saying,
Buy leaks.
hey.
And if it's called P5S, it makes sense. It would come out for the Switch. But it is a Muso game, and I still think, again, people are allowed to be disappointed. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I find it hilarious that it's like, this thing that I wanted, even though they said nothing about it, isn't the thing I thought it was in my brain. It's like they promised you nothing.
Here's the funny thing. You say that. I don't know why people are disappointed that Persona 5 is not on the Switch, because technically now Persona 5 is on the Switch.
It's coming to Switch, okay? So you think Sakurai didn't just get Joker? Also, yes, it's on the Switch, but it's not like
they got Persona 5 on the Switch.
Again, at this point, they should honestly just do a combo deal with Persona. It might be too much. That's still like 180 hours minimum, probably. But they could do a combo deal with Persona 5 and Royale as a combo deal on Switch. They did that for Bayonetta too.
Yeah.
Probably.
Release day, they gave you just Bayonetta 1 for like 10 extra bucks.
So, personally, I was one of those people where it's like, I'm kind of disappointed because it's Persona 5, and I feel like Persona especially is a type of game where it's like it would be much easier to just play through while you're on the go and having it on the Switch. And
you're on a plane, you got like 3 hours to play.
Yeah, exactly. So I am kind of disappointed. At the same time, I kind of like Muso games. They're very calming for me. I could play them and just enjoy the heck out of them. And the big thing with Persona 5S or Persona 5 Scramble, is not only is it a Muso game, but it looks like it has its own original story.
It does. They confirmed it. Yes, I believe they said it. It's
so,
not in the...
I was going to ask you about the character that was showing up on screen.
So that's a brand new character.
Yeah, I assumed so.
Yes.
So not only do you have Persona 5 to play, but you also have to play through the new story of Persona 5 Royale and the new story of Persona 5.
I 100% think this is... I'm telling you, I think this is whether people want to make fun of it for Muso, I think if your game gets a Muso game, I think that kind of says to the popularity of that game, where they
100%.
Because
Gundam has Muso.
Yeah, I got into Dynasty Wars, aka Muso, through Gundam. That was like one of the only Western Gundam releases ever.
That's literally how I got into that too.
Yeah, I remember the demo for that, and that was like the 360s.
Same.
So that's a decade ago.
Yeah, it's been a second. And but again, those were mainly for like the Asian territories, but they came out to the West, which says a lot. Hyrule Warriors is like considered one of the best Muso games because there's so much content and there's so many characters, and so much to do that most people I can't even beat it, and I'm kind of happy. There's like, we talking about Persona 5 being a long game. That game is like, you have like 30 characters to play with like multiple campaigns, and it's like on different difficulties or whatever. And it's like so I think it says a lot that Persona gets a Muso game, that they're like, we are so confident behind Persona 5 that we're just gonna do it. Because it's always, Persona's spin-off games have always been like racing or dancing or whatever, and people love those games, don't get me wrong, but Muso is like, I know it's like, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily hated, but it's like, it kind of gives like an eye roll, like, but if you can make a Muso game,
I also think like a lot of Japanese companies are getting at exactly what you're talking about, the popular, like the West is fully behind, like, hey, give us Japanese style games. We're no longer, this isn't just you're making a game for the Japanese market anymore. There's such a significant portion of the Western world now that's fully like, we want games like that.
One thing I do want to say, being Japanese, and just an observation, I don't know if it's necessarily true, and buying a lot of Japanese games, is that Japanese companies are not one game. It's about the whole spin-off and spectrum. They say Persona 5 as a package, not just the game. So in Japan, when people buy Persona 5, they expect you to get, Dancing Q. They expect you to get the Muso game. They expect you to play the SMT mobile game tie-in with Persona characters or whatever. it's a whole. People think it's a whole marketing thing in America. In Japan, it's like same thing happened with Persona 4. They had Persona 4. You could buy Persona 4 characters glasses at glass shops. You can buy Persona 5 clothing in clothing stores in Japan when the game first came out. Like,
So I kind of want to bring up something because technically Persona 4 Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Dancing are technically canon to the story of
yes,
Persona
there are some
4.
that are just straight canon. Yes.
So how Persona 5 Royale, all right, that's coming out. Because and there is confirmation that Persona 5 Arena or the fighting game version of that game is also coming out.
Yes.
That is, it's on the back because they're developing so many
They're
other
also
games.
working on SMT5 too.
So what's the canon timeline? Is it going to be Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royale and then Persona 5 Scramble and then
is there not the chance that like Persona 5 Royale? Because part of what I'm thinking about, again, I could be wrong. I have no clue about Persona. Is it could be like stuff that wasn't directly talked about in the base game of Persona, like moments that with the new character that. God
yes,
damn
there were some things that you would only get if you played the game or you knew some of the lore for sure. There were some allusions because they wanted to be like, this is kind of different. With how I don't even want to say anything about Persona 5 Royal has to be something different.
It has to.
It has to be.
Okay.
Just because of how the story goes.
Okay.
That being said, we already know about creator intentions. The canon story is whatever. If Persona 5 Royal is even though it could be worse, if it's like really bad, then people be like Persona 5 is the canon one because people don't like Persona 5 Royal. Yeah. If it doesn't have to be as good as Persona 5, it just has to be not bad.
Well, no, you can't say that because if Persona 5 Royale sucks, you can't say the Persona 5 is canon because what if Persona 5 Arena comes out and the girl from Persona 5 Royale?
They could have her in there, but they have original characters before you and non-canon characters as well.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
They've had a complete that's a completely good question, Strix. It's just with how the story goes in Persona 5 Royale has to be something different, pretty much. So, but again, it's so weird to me in America. Maybe because they're not handhelds might not be as a big of an issue or as a thing in Japan or Europe and stuff where people are on trains and stuff the entire time. But again, I kind of appreciate how Japan kind of goes, for better or for worse, super hard behind the product. I think Strix could see a little bit of it with Kingdom Hearts. You get annoyed by it, but it's super true where you're like, okay, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out and there's a PS4 that's just the Kingdom Hearts logo with the theme. There's also there's a mobile game tie-in.
There's clothing line.
Clothing lines. There's multiple mangas and novels. There's multiple that have account to lore, like that are just about the organization, 13 members.
You're hitting on it. Like I've always had a problem with the Western market because of that. When it's like, oh, we're getting Metal Gear Solid, and then they release Rising. This isn't a Metal Gear game. I'm like,
but it's part of the world, though.
But then on the other side, it's like, hey, why are y'all just making the same game over and over again? We're getting burned out. I'm like,
yeah.
Like Japan, it's always amazing to see that of like
they're behind the market push. Yeah,
like you said, like here's a Persona game. Oh, here's a fighting game. Here's a dancing game. Here's a singing game. Here's in this case a Muso. Like it's how do we make the game work for the genre, but still maintain the trueness of or the core of the series, and people are open to it. Like the idea of like, well, how good is this game?
That's why
because the Persona dancing games are really good. Technically,
they're super good as well. Rhythm games. It boggles my mind because you think just law of averages, right? You figure even let's just say Royale is garbage and Muso's actually good. It can still make up for some of that. You know what I mean? Like there's so much. You're putting your eggs in one basket for just one game versus spreading it out versus other things that. Even though it might not look good publicly, financially behind the scenes, like, we sold enough backpacks, clothing, glasses, phone game, microtransactions, whatever, to offset the fact that Royale didn't sell as well. Which, obviously, Royale is probably not going to sell as well as Persona 5 because people are like, why would I get Persona 5 Royale if I already have Persona 5,
You say that, but I think didn't Persona 4 Golden do way better than
I think
Persona
it just
4?
because Vita didn't have.
I will speak. That's why I owned a Vita, and why I've like at a certain point I kept hearing about Persona, and people were like, "No, Golden is an amazing. It is a reason to buy a Vita."
Let me put it this way, Alejandro. I think Persona 5 was a way to get people into Persona, but I think Royale is for people who are still sticking with Persona in general.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense.
It's the extra little bit that you want. It's the I don't even say enthusiast, but it's like you're sold on. You're like, yeah, another Persona, give it to me. Just give it to me.
It's
type of thing.
yeah. It's like, hey, this is for the people that already were sold on Persona.
Yeah.
I mean, the bad joke is kind of going back to Shaz. I'm sold on Kingdom Hearts. They don't have to sell me on the game,
They already got
but
straight.
they have to sell other people. Or in Persona's case, like, hey, Shaz was buying Persona. Shaz has been talking about Persona 5 for years up to its release.
Mhm.
Like, I want the game. He got it, and now they're like, oh yeah, we got a new story for you. And Shaz is like, Shaz already like, okay, look,
Yeah,
you already gave me that good shit, and you got more. Just pass that.
exactly. That's all it is. And I think it's just a weird marketing thing that I still don't understand in America. Maybe because it is just they're not ready. But Japan is very, very usually honest because they have laws in place for that type of thing, whether it be gacha and stuff like that. Where we talked about that with they usually tell you the rates and stuff like that. But for me, I kind of, even though Japan can be very scummy because of the government and whatever, but I think when it comes to business, it's strangely transparent, even though, again, they're being scummy because they're businesses and governments. It's just, I find it funny where they're like, in America, they were like, Diablo news, and it's like, it's a mobile game. It's like, you shouldn't have built people up that way. When Japan says they're coming out with a new thing for, like, especially a mobile game, they're like, it's gonna be a mobile game. Please, for the love of God, don't expect a full release, you idiots.
100%. Like, I feel like companies to get better with their leaks nowadays. Like, that's one of those things you leak. Like, hey, Diablo is gonna be at BlizzCon. It's gonna be a mobile game.
Yeah.
But
you know what's crazy is Japan recently got a mobile game of a game called Wild Arms. It's a really old JRPG.
Okay.
And it was like a year or two. I think I talked about it, but that game has had like nothing for years. And even in America, it's really interesting to see the reaction because when they announced the fact that it'd be I think a canon mobile game. I haven't played it, but apparently it's pretty decent. I don't know if it is or not, but I've heard it's pretty decent. But even Americans were like, yes, like we finally got like Wild Arms stuff because it like kickstarts that ball, right? That was never rolling to begin with or didn't exist. And it's interesting, and I think that's because Japanese companies were like, yeah, it's just gonna be a mobile game, and Americans are like, oh, thank God, I don't have to like hype myself up for like a month thinking it's gonna be like a new Wild Arms release in like 20 years. And don't get me wrong, Japan does a thing where it's like new game coming out, and it's mobile game, but mobile games are so huge in Japan that they're like, mobile games are a new installment in a series in Japan.
Yeah.
100%. They take it seriously. Mobile games are a serious investment in Japan. It is no joke.
I mean, technically, the SMT series, like Shin Megami Tensei, not Persona 5, but Shin Megami Tensei are a mobile game.
A lot of
franchise.
those games work on phone because they're simple, and a lot of those games are super old, so they had to work with hardware that wasn't that great to begin with. There's a reason why Fire Emblem works on mobile, even though it doesn't work the same way as regular Fire Emblem. There's a reason why SMT is on mobile. There's a reason why Nintendo is pushing Yu-Gi-Oh! That's like, you're like, no shit. As much as people are like, oh, mobile games, like Yu-Gi-Oh! On mobile makes the most amount of fucking sense. Like, are you kidding me? You know how many GBA and DS games they had?
Exactly.
Come on. It makes Nintendo has the best gacha game right now out with Dragalia Lost, which is a completely original IP with the guys who make
Is that Square who work in that game? Side Games.
Side Games, thank you. Yeah, Grand Blue. So they had the guys, the god tier people who made Grand Blue working with Nintendo, and now the game is amazing. It makes so much goddamn money, and people have nothing but praise for a gacha game, even in the West. They're like, I love this game.
I have to give credit where credit. Like, I don't play mobile games. I'm very much, but goddamn it, if the games coming out of Japan don't make me very much respect, because it goes back to what Shaz is saying about transparency. Like they don't have their problems, but like, I'm invested in the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross story. People keep thinking, like, why Kingdom Hearts? Because I'm like, I think that's how everything works. We find something we're invested in, and that gets us in. But now I look at it when somebody's like, hey, here's this new gacha game, and I'll look at it and be like, hey, that's not for me, but that's cool. Like, I
and
see
guess
why
what?
you
Union
fuck
Cross was it was canon, right? It mattered.
Oh, it is. It It is the
It matters.
only story you're getting for Kingdom Hearts right now, and it's insane that like literally month to month, I'm just like, all right, I need somebody to translate this shit.
But that's what I mean, though. That's why when people made fun of like those mobile games and stuff, I'm like, okay, like you don't understand Japan, guys. I know if it's like it mattered literally in the story. In a mainline game, they acknowledged the game. They had a character that was never rendered out before for that one scene, and people were like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Doesn't the SMT game on the phone right now have new demons that are only exclusive to that phone game?
I think there's some out there. I think they have like Bayonetta on there too. It's weird because it's like
that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, people are like, I know.
I'm seeing like a bunch of advertisement recently for Guilty Gear doing a crossover with mobile game, and then
because it's like the 20th anniversary now. So
and then Full Metal Alchemist did a crossover with a mobile game. It's like you just see big titles.
People think obviously a lot of those characters won't be canon even if they had a story, but
yeah,
I'm glad Strix could finally see what I was talking about with Kingdom Hearts 3, where it's like those things in Japan matter. And they acknowledge it. It's payoff. It's payoff for being part of a game. And I totally understand because you can get burnt out because there's so much of it. But people need to understand that mobile games and stuff can be canon, does matter, and people do want that type of stuff.
It's the thing. Like I'm not gonna even like Kingdom Hearts to me is a poster boy for that shit because you literally had to have owned 80% of the consoles in the last goddamn 10 years.
You really
but
did.
like
you really did.
It's
I'm
to
not gonna
me,
lie. You kind of did.
And I guess for me, the way I look at it isn't so much. My point was never that like I thought they didn't matter. I thought that it was like I have to play this bullshit game to get what I want. When it's more like, no, like they're trying to make a serious product. This isn't just like yes, give us your money. It's more like take it or leave it. This is what the game is, and it's being what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from there, and that's why like the appreciation is just like because I'm like from the outset, from a Western perspective, I was just gonna give it raw. A gacha game is literally just opening packs and like tapping your screen occasionally, and it's kind of like okay, but then when you start to look at it like okay, like the numbers, the min-maxing, the like okay, well you got to do this level this many times to do this thing, and really. Is it worth it? Because you have people doing all the math. There's a new broken metal in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross.
Yeah, I saw.
That has, like, for free people, like, a 2% drop rate at best.
Yeah.
And people are just like, but I'm like...
It's funny, right? Strix, it came out... It came around... It wouldn't even come out full circle. Western society realized it. Japan already knew about it. So you complained about having to... There's only a Japanese phone-exclusive Kingdom Hearts game. But now Union Cross is a phone game that you won't be able to play eventually in like 10 years because they won't have it anymore. And people are going to complain like, oh, what am I supposed to know? You're gonna be that dude who's like, oh, you didn't play Union Cross in 2015. It's going to happen.
But no, like
it's going to happen because people can't play it anymore.
That's the reality of the timeline. Like
you
know,
now.
We had this conversation, because you have to sit back and say like, back when you got Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2. And you flip to the back page of the manual, and it had a little ad for them old-ass phones. We're like, hey, get this Kingdom Hearts game. You don't know a decade later that it's like, well, yeah, there have been 4 more installments, but you can't play those anymore.
You get it now. You are a 2004 Japanese salaryman playing Kingdom Hearts on his goddamn phone to work on a train. And you're going to be that dude in 10 years when kids get into Kingdom Hearts 4 or whatever extra stuff that happens down the line. Like, oh, I'm supposed to know this mobile phone game? Like, I give a fuck? And it's like, you're going to be like, dude, it matters. Trust me, I was like that too. Mm-hmm. But on God, it matters. Like,
and all I ask is just keep taking your craft seriously.
Yes.
Don't as long as like
it's Japan, so
yeah.
It is. Yeah.
That's the thing that I think is different about the West. A company in the West would eventually just be like, all right, we got them now. Let's make money now.
It's crazy. Right? They don't understand in the West. Like, let's just take something like Red Alert that they had. I think that's the game called, right? The mobile. If
Command and Conquer,
Command and Conquer Red Alert. That could have been the start for not only mobile games extra, but console games that could have used that story as a basis. Like, hey, if you want to story, you can play this game for free, and we can lead up into
a new one, like
a new set of games. People love Dragalia Lost, Nintendo's gacha game, so much that people have actually started. People did a poll and people started requesting those characters for Smash now. Like, it's crazy how you like people. West doesn't realize that if you have an IP that's that huge, why would you not take everything you do seriously? It doesn't mean it's gonna be a hit. No matter how much effort, money, time, planning you put into something, doesn't mean it's gonna succeed. But one thing I gotta say about Japanese mobile games, which are the only ones I play, there's so much effort put into it. Not only because there's so much competition in the East, in Asia in general, but they're like, we know that if this takes off, not only will we make efficient amount of money, but we could use this to like catapult a series that might have been irrelevant for the last like 30 years.
And the big thing with like what I usually see is that when you look at games here, mobile games being developed here, it's always a thing of they always focus on one thing and leave everything else like to the wayside. So you would see a mobile game release and it's like, oh, the gameplay is really good, but the graphics and the story and everything sucks. Or it's like, oh, the graphics are really good, but the gameplay is repetitive and boring, and everything is. And when I usually play a Japanese mobile game, it's like everything just works together. The Dragon Ball, I think, what is it, Dragon Ball Heroes on the phone, or
Which one, Dokkan or the new one?
No, the one where it's like the 3D models and they actually fight.
Yeah. I know.
Yes, that one, it's fun. I enjoyed it for the time I played it. I stopped because my internet doesn't like that game for some reason.
Yeah.
Fucking Yu-Gi-Oh!
Original new characters, by the way, from Toriyama.
That too. That they use in other games.
So he's gonna be around forever now.
Yeah. Fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Really good. The little I played of Dragalia Lost. It's a good ass game. SMT on the the mobile games you see in Japan, like they bust their ass to make something of quality, and it's like I think it's an understanding of if they bust their ass to make something of quality, they know they're gonna make a return from it.
Yeah, on some level for sure. I mean, they're going to, because it's just even just in Japan by itself, but it's just really frustrating to me how. Don't get me wrong, a lot of those games have faults and people drop off. Like I did drop off a lot of those games purely because it's like, this might not be for me, or I just don't have the time or whatever. I literally dropped off from Dragalia not because it's a bad game, but because I was spending too much time in that game. I was playing that game for about 18 hours a day because there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Still, I'm thinking of getting back into it, but being more reasonable. But it's like, I think once Nintendo is starting to do it, I think there's an issue because Nintendo is always being joked that they're always behind the times in terms of what games should do or whatever.
Is it developed by Nintendo, or it's developed by Crygame, and then
it's both.
Is it half development?
Well, I think they're letting side games do it because they're mobile gods, but Nintendo is like giving them the budget and like
that's what I was asking.
And like advising them on stuff on what to do, and that game is amazing. By the way, unlike other games where a 5-star is automatically like the best one because it's the highest quality character or whatever, in that game there are straight up characters that are 4 stars or 3 stars that are better than some 5 stars if you rank them up high enough. So it's like, oh, even if in a gacha game you don't get the character you want, the 4-star characters that you got or we gave you can be better than the ones that you could roll for anyway. So they're smart about it. It's like the best of a gacha game plus the best of I want to make my team while not spending money and still be decent.
Okay, like, it's developed by both companies.
Yeah.
Right.
It's I mean, it's Nintendo, and now Nintendo is now doing a I even got an email from them. I should have probably responded, but a beta for the Mario Kart mobile phone game. So they're like, oh, what? That kind of makes sense. Like
also wasn't that Mario game on the phone pretty good too? I think the big thing I think I heard is like the only issue is that it's not a free game. Beyond that,
there was nothing really to do. But yeah, it was because they were just testing stuff out, and then now Dragalia Lost was their huge thing. They're like, okay, we had somebody that knew what they were doing do it for us, which is smart. Why wouldn't you have someone that knows what they're doing do it for you? But now they're doing Mario Kart, so it's like.
Quick note: Dragalia Lost released in September of 2018, and by the end of 2018, it has grossed $50 million. Gross. A few months, and it grossed. So, first 2 weeks, it grossed $16 million.
Yeah.
Develop mobile games. Do them good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why Westerns... I get it because it's not like being on trains and stuff like that are that much of a priority in a lot of areas in America because we can just drive. Even in cities like New York, even though it's a big train thing, most people just look at their phone for Twitter and stuff, which is fine. But it's like, I don't understand how literally a product that you don't have to. You have to sell people a PlayStation. You have to sell people on a Xbox. You have to sell people on a Switch or whatever. Everybody has a phone, a smartphone. Like I don't even know the numbers, but I imagine at least 90% of the people in a first world country have a smartphone. I'm sure if you work in construction, you might have like a really old phone that's like rugged that you don't want to get hurt or whatever. But whatever.
No, even then, there are people.
No, I know
they use the case.
They just you just use cases or whatever. Yeah. But I just mean some like half the work is already done. Usually, you have to promote the phone or the console or whatever to be like, this is the reason why you should buy it. Now you gotta put another $60 on top of that to get a game. So it makes no sense why you wouldn't try hard for mobile games. I get the whole Candy Crush thing, and that was a huge thing. I don't mind games like that existing. That's fine, because that's definitely for older people or for younger people or people our age that just don't.
It's a time waster game. It's a time waster.
Fine. It's perfectly fine. But I don't understand why, if you're gonna use something like Command & Conquer or Diablo or all these things, why you wouldn't be transparent and why you wouldn't put a lot of effort behind it. You make a fuck lot of money behind it.
Shout outs to the person in my second month of university who had a flip phone and didn't have a smartphone.
That's what I mean. I'm sure there are people out there that don't.
Yeah.
But
no, there definitely are. Obviously.
I just imagine it's gonna be like.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just like a no-brainer at some point where you're just like, why wouldn't you try?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the best mobile phone games on like Google Play and stuff that are actually good are like all Japanese games. It's always like Fate Grand Order or like Dragalia.
That's another game,
or Fire Emblem Heroes, or a lot of like just Japanese. And again, they all have their faults. Some are better than others or whatever. But it just doesn't make sense for me why they don't try at all. Also, I'm applying for this beta right now.
While we're doing the podcast?
Yup.
Oh my god. So Strix, apparently, it looks like he's out right now. So while he's doing what he's doing, let's move on to the final topic before the big thing. So Sonic the Hedgehog.
Huh?
Yeah, we're there. Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, revealed to come out for November of 2019. Because Strix is not here, we can't show the trailer, but I'm pretty sure most of the people have seen this trailer by this point. That movie looks like shit. That movie looks like absolute ass, dog.
Yeah, that movie is What's the actor? That's the
Jim Carrey.
No, not Jim Carrey. The actual
Sonic?
human guy.
The
guy,
human?
not Jim Carrey. The other guy that's just with
fuck
him.
if I know.
He's always in like random CG animal things. Cause he had another movie about like a random ass CGI animal thing. 100%. I think it's weird because I if I'm being completely honest, I think it's going to be fine. But here's my reasoning behind it. I think it's going to be fine because I feel like Hollywood, we all know Hollywood makes dumb choices, especially when it comes to live action where it doesn't make sense. We're not asking for anything crazy. We're not asking for Sonic to look the best. We're not asking Sonic to look 100% to the character, because I understand you're putting some
we have to discuss that after,
I know, but we will.
Yeah.
We're not, but I just mean in a like, people were going crazy about Sonic Boom design. So clearly, even if you change one or two things, this thing had no chance of making people happy anyway. So
it's funny you bring up Sonic Boom because, first off, the designs I think for the Sonic Boom looks fine. But even though the game sucked, the cartoon apparently did really well because the cartoon actually had decent writing and decent animation and all that
apparently
stuff.
It's pretty funny actually.
Yeah. But like, you're talking about design, it's just the reason we can excuse more the Sonic Boom designs is because they're still the cartoony designs. They still don't feel weird to look at. Like, yeah, Knuckles looks weird. He doesn't look like Knuckles, but it's still obviously like, oh yeah, this is Knuckles, and it looks fine. It looks like it fits into the world that they're in. So it's like we can kind of excuse the way they designed that.
Yeah.
Sonic just looks like to a certain extent, he just looks creepy in this movie. Like he has lips. He's not. He
It's
has
weird.
his legs move just weird, and
It's weird.
is there's just.
I don't even know what to say.
It's funny because I was watching that trailer. I was watching that trailer when it came out in like class. Like the class was about to begin, and like the teacher was like, "Oh shit, the Sonic trailer came out. We're just gonna watch this." And I think as a whole, I found one scene in that entire trailer that like, okay, this looks alright, because it's just everything about the effects and the coloring and the character design is it's just not selling me whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I think I feel like I know what they're going for, but like just a little bit of changing of the proportions made a huge difference. While using the same like fidelity or the graphical or artistic style, where it's like the bristles are more realistic instead of being one giant blob.
Quick question: why is some of his hair sparking?
I don't know, because he runs fast, I guess. But he's never had like an. That's just I think just not even marketing, just a movie thing where it's like something moves fast, it has to have electricity behind it or something. So.
And also, bringing up Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman. So, I like Jim Carrey. He's a good actor. He's really good for comedy. He's way too much. He's way too Jim Carrey to be Dr. Eggman. So I watched this trailer, and I think Jim Carrey looked like he was fun to watch in this trailer. I will give him that his performance is endearing and all that stuff. At the same time, it just doesn't fit the Dr. Eggman character. And so it was really hard for me to be like, okay.
Yeah. I think I mean that's not really his fault, that's just more of casting.
No, I know.
And that's also him being him, which is kind of I'm kind of glad, because apparently he was kind of going crazy or something for a little bit. So people were like, oh, Jim Carrey's being Jim Carrey now, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, you're right, the character isn't, I mean, Dr. Eggman, Robotnik, whatever you want to call him, is very eccentric, but it's not like Jim Carrey kind of. But at the same time, I don't know, I feel like it's weird because they felt that they had to have like a big name actor associated with the product, even though Sonic is a big thing. Sonic's definitely had its up and downs, but it's a very well known product, and
mostly downs.
I definitely think no one that doesn't know Sonic isn't gonna watch this. Like, I don't see maybe parents who are like, oh, this kind of. But if you're a parent now that has young kids, you definitely should know Sonic. So, if you're a parent at our age and have young kids, you definitely should know what Sonic is, I feel like. So whether or not you play video games, so I don't know why they couldn't like get I wouldn't even say no name actor, but like someone that's good at acting but very closer to what we think of Robotnik. Also, one thing I do hate that Hollywood does, and I fucking can't stand this, I really, really can't, like legitimately, is I hate it when part of the trailer where he has his Robotnik outfit in the movie, and then there's like a second where he like goes through like some weird experiment thing, and he's like wearing the classic Sonic Robotnik outfit with the goggles and like the crazy mustache or whatever. And it's like, so you know what people wanted, but it's only going to be in the movie for like a few minutes or a few seconds, and I can't stand it. I can't, like, if you're gonna stick with one thing, stick with it. It's one thing to do it's not, because it's not like an update, right? The costume doesn't feel like an update to me, realistically. It's not like the Marvel movies where Captain America's outfit is like, it got progressively better as the movies went on, where it's like that would make sense in a real life. Same thing, Iron Man looks like Iron Man, Hulk looks like Hulk. A lot of these characters' outfits make sense for the world that they're in, while paying homage to the classic costumes. You know what I mean? But it kind of annoys me sometimes when movies do that, where even though it might be worse, I kind of hate that thing where there was like a leaked picture way back in like X-Men 2 or something, where they had a picture of Wolverine's classic comic book yellow outfit, and it's like, yeah, but it'd be weird if Wolverine wore that, but everyone else was wearing the black jumpsuit. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really fit what everyone else is wearing. Like, if you're gonna do, you might as well make everybody look dumb.
I actually this is a bit of a sidetrack, but I kind of do hate the whole I think I always hated the X-Men designs in the live action because I feel like it would have just worked better to have the weird colorful costumes. Like, because the big thing is like I feel like having those costumes just like embraces the fact that it is a comic book movie at that point, and it adds to the campiness and it adds to the fun of those movies.
No, I agree. I just think for me, I don't think they ever did it in the actual movies. That was just the thing outside the movies.
No,
But it'd be terrible if there was some, I don't know, if like Wolverine was fighting like Juggernaut through like a costume store, and he like happens to like switch out a costume into like this Wolverine. He's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I hate when I know it's a callback and it's fun usually, and I don't want to think of it in a bad way, but it just annoys me because they're trying to play both sides when it isn't the thing. Like, if you know that's what we wanted, why didn't you just do it in the first place type of thing? Like, you went through the effort of putting Jim Carrey in the classic Dr. Eggman outfit. Why didn't you just put him in the costume the entire time, right?
So I think the big thing is this does relate to the other thing with this movie, but this very much looks like a movie where it's the executives are the head and they're just we're just gonna make a thing and not really care about the quality or the fan base or any of that stuff. It's like it's looking at Sonic and looking at Pikachu, which is coming out next week. And one of those movies looks like, oh, this is just a big executive committee coming together and being like, yeah, this is a product that we can make, compared to Pikachu, where
I'll actually probably watch Pikachu once it comes out on Netflix. I'm not gonna go pay to see it probably just because.
No, I'm paying to seeing it with friends.
No,
but
I'm just not gonna do it because I probably gonna have school. But it's like,
no, you're right. Okay.
It's just, yeah, you can tell like, even though the worst thing people said about the Pokemon movie, even when it first came out, was that it just seemed like some Pokemon that have fur shouldn't have fur. But they're like, this actually looks pretty good. Like,
because it looks like they're paying respect to the material, and it looks like they're having fun with the product.
Like, I know Sonic is weird. It's always had a weird relationship with real world because Sonic in the games exist in the real world.
He fucks women.
He just literally exists. He literally exists in the place where you walk around getting chili dogs, and it's like normal people are just walking around. But it's weird because only like his type of people, like these weird like anamorphic creatures, exist in his like weird dimension planet thing instead. I don't know lore, and it's weird. It's always different. But point is, with Pokemon, whether it be anime, games, whatever, you see Pokemon sitting on benches. You see Pokemon interacting with people. So when in the trailer, it made me really happy seeing an Arcanine be like a police dog near the entrance, and then you see like a whole bunch of people like having Pokemon just walk around, go grocery shopping, and like it. I don't know. It looks
fun. It looks nice.
I know. It just kind of annoyed me. I don't know. I don't get it.
And going along with all this heat and all this hatred that is coming for the Sonic movie, recently, I think it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, the director confirmed that with everyone yelling their complaints and everything, they are going to change. They are going to make changes.
One, you shouldn't. Listening to feedback from the consumers is very important, but I think there's something to be said about if the people that are designing the Sonic, I'm sure people who design Sonic know what Sonic looks like for reference material. They've seen all the reference. Even if they don't care about something, they probably looked at the reference and were like, this looks almost nothing like the character. Can we change it? They're probably like, no. And now that people are threatening it, they're doing it. Now that's good. The problem is now they're like, okay, you're going to delay the movie, right? Because now they have to completely re-render and change. Those poor animators have to re-render, change.
Nope.
All those scenes because he's probably going to be shorter. It's not going to make like. I don't know if I want to support that because that sucks.
And that's the big thing. Oh, he's back, Hey.
He back.
So and that's the big thing that's really pissing me off. They're not delaying the movie. They're not increasing their budget. And so with all this news coming out, it's a very high possibility that these animators are going to come back, these artists and animators and everyone are going to come back, work crunch, work overtime, and probably see little to like very little to no extra payment in terms of what they get.
Garbage.
Or if they do get payment, it's maybe it's gonna be like, oh hey yeah, whatever money we got from the movie, we're good. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. I just see this as a very negative thing when it comes to just being one of those artists in the movie. Yes, it's good. It's cool. It's like, all right, at least the final movie is going to look decent. But knowing all the things that are going to be going on in the background, it's like, well, like I feel bad for this staff that they're gonna have to bust their ass off for fucking executives that didn't listen when before the movie was. It's
yeah, I don't think it's. I know cardiac and chat. I know we usually don't take stuff from chat that often, but I don't think it's us bullying creators. I think it's purely. It's not like I don't necessarily. It's not like anybody really went after the designers per se. I don't think most people know who they are anyway, because then we don't know them by name. But I don't think they were like insert designer name or just this designer didn't know how to make Sonic. They were just like, what was the studio thinking approving this? Because at the end of the day, it's them approving it. So it's like it's not like it's an original IP and the thing just looks really weird. But it's like you have 25 years worth of Sonic designs that show you what he generally looks like.
And we don't know who got the final say in terms of the actual design. For all we know, there was like a version of the design that looked closer to the original design. It looked actually pretty decent, and the executives were like, "No, we don't want that."
Yeah, it just
we don't know who's to blame for this.
Yeah, it's just for me very weird again because now we have a direct comparison to say something like Pokemon, where I know Pokemon Company has like infinite money, one of the companies in the world that almost actually has infinite money, and Sega is not that at all, so they probably weren't able to contribute that much, if at all, to the movie, versus Pokemon, which is anything Pokemon will sell regardless because it's Pokemon. And so I do kind of feel a little bad, but it's so weird because the most I can say about the Pokemon movie in terms of at least the design is the fact that, like Alejandro was saying, the movie looks a lot of fun, and the designs aren't actually that bad. There are some that are really creepy, like Greninja looks like, whoa, but it's like, what would happen if you had a giant frog with its tongue sticking out that's like 6 feet tall? And it looks creepy, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird that Jigglypuff does have fur. I didn't imagine that because it's like.
I'm personally one of those people who saw all the designs in the movies and I thought all these designs look great and I loved it. I loved all the designs.
I don't think that I don't like hate it anymore. I just some of them took me back with the fur. Like I get that fur pretty much means real life, but there were like some that like Jigglypuff. I'm like, you didn't need to do that. That was kind of.
But it's a thing where it's like, would you rather see Jigglypuff be all fur or all skin?
I mean, it makes sense because she has the little thing on her head, but it's like, it's fine. But then you have Mr. Mime that looks great. And the comedy looks great. You have Ryan Reynolds, of course, as Pikachu. It looks like a lot of fun, and I think it also helps because it's Ryan Reynolds is fully behind being Pikachu because he's aside from him having to tweet probably because
he's just embracing this entire thing.
He's like, sorry, I'm not Danny DeVito, but he's like, Pika this. He's like, what's the difference between this? And he's like, he has like a Pikachu plushie. He did like an interview in Japan, and it's like all fur, and I'm sure those will sell too. And it's like because it's got like the cute little Sherlock Holmes detective hat on, like it's.
A lot of people love the Pikachu. If anything, a lot of people like the Pikachu design.
Even though it's most definitely a studio thing, like we want money, because there's nothing wrong with trying to make money. I think, as far as like live action property game things go, this is pretty good. I could definitely see Pikachu getting, if they aren't already Detective Pikachu, getting his own model in the newer Pokemons with the Sherlock Holmes hat, or even a costume in Smash Brothers, just the hat, and that's it. And it's like, it's little things like that that just kind of add over time. There's not really much you can do. Let's just say the live action Sonic movie does well. I don't see anything you can do with that design. That's like,
that's That's not a even if the movie does well, that's not a design that's gonna sell.
Yeah,
I don't whatsoever.
yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It just sucks because inherently Pokemon and Sonic don't wear clothes, so eventually you're gonna get to a point where you just have to add stuff to make them look different. But there's nothing you can really do with this new design that I feel like you could ever bring to the table, like to Smash or anything else. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I just want someone to make a Sonic like toy, like a dancing toy or whatever.
Dude,
And
I love the.
have the button be on Sonic's butt or something.
I've seen people draw this new Sonic in like comparison to other Sonics, and actually a positive way in terms of like, please give us more time. You know, please let the designers have more time to re-edit this if you're gonna do it, type of thing. But like the Sonic that's like live action holding it up is like it's like nightmare fuel when people draw it to like aesthetic, like look as legit as possible, and it's like God. But yeah, I feel it just kind of sucks all around because I'm sure that the movie doesn't already look that great to begin with, and it already started with controversy because Sonic's proportions. Don't get me wrong, his legs have always been very long, especially for his modern design. His older design had like virtually no legs almost, but his newer design, I'm not talking about this one, but just modern Sonic in general, had very long legs. I feel like, or it's very.
It was a very round body with long legs.
Well, it's a very prominent feature. I don't even want to say long. I think I don't know if it might be proportional.
Very distinct design.
Yeah, but now it's like it's super weird. I don't know. It just looks weird. It just kind of looks weird. It just the proportions
Any thoughts
are
on
a
the
little
movie,
off.
Strix?
Now
Now that you're here,
I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be.
No, we said we
think,
covered that.
yeah.
We covered that.
I don't know. I think that
I saw positives in the movie, but it's in the trailer. But it's like,
if I'm being honest, the worst thing about the trailer was the song choice. I don't understand. That's the one. That's the actual only. All right. So hold on. I'm gonna do this because I need to. Chat. Give me 2 seconds. I retweeted something.
The fuck did Sonic get Gangster's Paradise,
but not JoJo.
Not JoJo's Part 5.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
You motherfuckers.
But I retweeted this thing where all somebody did was literally remove all the dialogue from the trailer and overlaid what's that shit called? City Escape.
Oh yeah.
And literally it makes the trailer like 20 times better.
It does.
Like
I know, I saw
this
it.
was
I saw
my
people
first
remixing
this
it.
was my first time watching the trailer. And that's why when everybody was complaining like, "Yo, the trailer's fucking trash." I was like, one, I get that this is clearly a remix. But like I don't know. I don't know what else to expect from a Sonic movie.
Well,
and chat, I will play it very low in the background so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about.
Oh, shut up then.
No, you're fine. It's low. You can keep. They know the song.
Well,
I'll let it play for me.
Yeah. So literally, when he presses the tape, the song starts playing, right? And he just cut it down, and it's like, okay, this isn't bad. And then I went to look at the actual thing, and I was like, does Kenan and Kel not air anymore? Does Coolio just need another check?
Okay, you know, I think it sucks because they replaced the Paramount stars with Sonic rings.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're gonna do little things like that, even though some people are like, oh, that's kind of like obnoxious or whatever.
This scene was actually pretty cool. I actually thought that scene was cool.
Yeah, depending on the property, you know, they do this stuff with other Paramount or whatever properties. Yeah. Where they do like little things here and there to make the movie distinct. I'm like, I don't understand why. I get it because it's made by Hollywood, but it kills me when it's not a traditional Hollywood movie with not a traditional at all Hollywood property, because it's a game property, when they don't take more advantage of, because it's like, I'm not saying it should be easy, but everything you need is there, right? You shouldn't have to edit it in a way that is like other Hollywood movies. It's like beat for beat, it's edited like a regular Hollywood movie. Like, I know Marvel, it took them a little while to do this too, because once they hit this stride, but Marvel trailers are not like other movie trailers usually, because they take full advantage of the fact that you're invested in this property, and they take things. I mean, literally, the joke with Marvel, by the time we'll get there eventually, but by the time Infinity War happened, was like, they don't have to show you anything. They just have to say Avengers Infinity War, and you'll watch the damn thing, because they know what's going on. So it doesn't make sense that, you know, they wouldn't have a scene where he's like going down, because I can't imagine this not being in California. Like why they wouldn't do the whole truck escape scene from like Sonic Adventure thing, or like there's so much stuff that you could have taken. I'm not saying it needs to be 100% because I don't agree with that. That's what makes Marvel movies great, is that I don't think they do one for one things from the comics, and what they do makes them unique. But it's like you have so much material that exists already. Like why would you not take advantage of that? That's all I'm just trying to say. Like it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
I think the big thing when I look at this movie is I'm doing this thing now where it's like, I look at this product and do I want to waste my money and my time with this product? And with Pikachu, I questionable with the money thing, but I definitely want to waste my time with this movie because it looks fun. Sonic, I don't want to waste my time with this movie. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to waste my money with this movie. I'm not watching this in theaters. Like at all. Not even as a joke.
I just think they missed. I think they missed an opportunity with some of the interactions and stuff like that. I think it's the little thing. It's not something overt, but like when in the trailer, Detective Pikachu and his buddy are like interrogating Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime obviously can't talk, aside from saying Mr. Mime, but usually he doesn't say anything. And now he like builds a wall. And then Pikachu's like, all right, I'm going to hit you. And then he like hits the wall and like it's little stupid things like that I feel like make the thing like the movie more enticing.
But
I don't know.
Playing devil's advocate, like, was that the first Detective Pikachu trailer? Like, that's my thing. I feel like we're getting...
There's two trailers.
We're getting real... Like, people are getting mad. Like, obviously the design of Sonic is not what people wanted.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not even going to put that up there. Like, I get why people are mad about the design. But I also feel like we've seen one trailer. And I guess y'all were touching on it when I got back. Like, the fact that, like, people have done this to a point where the studio is coming back and saying, like, hey, we're redoing this entire character for a movie. And, like, now we're at this point where there are people being like, nah, just stick to your guns. Like, why are you going back and changing it? Well, I feel like it's one of those things about internet being like, the internet always is going to have an opinion, right? Like, the internet's always going to yell at somebody about something. I just didn't see where it's like, hey, this is the first time we're seeing, because, like, think back to when we saw that original teaser. We all knew this was not going to look, like, everybody looked at that teaser and was like, oh, yeah,
they were not doing themselves any favors by having it literally by the point of perspective of his, like, crotch, and his legs were, like, unbelievably long in that shot.
I really thought it was the Werehog. I thought it was the Werehog.
I thought it was too. I saw people like, this has to be like Werehog. Like it would make sense only because America wants more action or whatever, and they can't sit still for 3 seconds. So they're like, Werehog. It's like, it's like, that makes sense. Just regular Sonic proportion. It's like,
I think it's a big thing where it's like, okay, you saw the teaser and it's like, all right, the teaser says, look, I'm one of those people where it's like, even if the first image comes out doesn't look exciting, I want to at least see the first trailer. I want to see I want to at least see how this looks in motion, how this all looks.
Also, Strix, to answer your question, the Pokemon trailer, the Mime thing, Mr. Mime thing was in the first trailer.
Yes.
I mean,
so
look, I think both are creepy.
I'm not saying it's the gold standard. All I'm just saying is, like, I feel like there was, if you're gonna take a video game property that's not like a new IP, and especially if it's something well known, all I'm saying is I felt like you could have done something to take advantage of that. Like, it just seems like a huge missed opportunity. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not asking for the perfect scene where he jumps out of a helicopter or a plane and he like has a skateboard and is like, you know, in the air. That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like there's so much you could have done to make it feel like, oh, this is just a Sonic movie in live action. Because I truly feel like a Detective Pikachu is just a Pokemon game come to life. It looks like it. It feels like it. You walk into a city and you see people walking around with Pokemon, you know? And it's like, it just feels lived in, if it makes sense. I don't know. Maybe that's the advantage of Pokemon, is that there was that connection between human and Pokemon from the beginning, whereas Sonic and human beings have been kind of controversial still. So it's kind of, it couldn't have won anyway, but I don't know. Again, it feels like a missed opportunity.
I don't think that to me, and this may have been like is cynicism from the last few years. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is a market you win. Like,
no, you don't.
I can't think of an actual, like, people will point to Detective Pikachu, but like I think Detective Pikachu, you're getting at like the character of the trailer. Like the actors carried the trailer in that situation. I think people were apprehensive initially about the designs, and then some of them were great, some of them were bad.
No, honestly, for me, I saw those that first Detective Pikachu trailer. I saw all the trailers for Detective Pikachu, and I think every single design in that movie looks fun. I like every single design.
I'm thinking like the internet as a whole. Like I'm trying to speak to like because like generally the sentiment I've always had is it's like I'm reading just scrolling through Twitter. I can remember Detective Pikachu was really positive in comparison to like most reactions.
I really was. I went to the Warner Brothers official channel, and there was like virtually no dislikes for the first trailer.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
It's like even if you have that one or two weird design that takes you off, most of the designs you see in that trailer, it's like, oh, that looks cool. Bulbasaur looks cool. Charizard looks cool. Pikachu looks. It's like
I can see that. Like trust me, I'm not the majority. I think everything about the fucking movie is terrifying because it's fucking like no.
But I think
fucking
you can see the
no.
fact, I agree.
But
there's some things that I'm like, wow, when you keep the same proportions, it looks creepy. But I think you can tell the difference in terms of like trying to keep the designs as close as possible while making it real. Like it makes sense. It's like Bulbasaur's a weird salamander thing with a flower on its back. Like it's not gonna look.
If I'm being honest, I think
amazing.
But Sonic's thing is that they tried to stay too close, in my opinion. Like I feel like you either shoot for the moon, like, hey, we're just gonna do our own thing.
Yeah.
Like fuck the source material. Like, and yes, people are gonna be mad about that, but they at a certain point, it's like we're doing our own design, or like what they did was kind of like we're kind of making Sonic.
Real talk, Strix. I agree. But I think it's they tried to make it realistic in weird areas. Like his face is too realistic as like an actual hedgehog.
He has lips,
and like it's weird. Like that. I get the fact that his mono eye doesn't make sense. So when they changed it, I'm like, yes, that makes sense. But the fact that like it like shrunk their face to make like an actual hedgehog, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I wish they changed some things on like the Pokemon movie, like Bulbasaur. I feel like Bulbasaur's eyes are way too big, or they could have changed how they look. But it's like overall, they kind of understood what they were working with in terms of the design and how they were going to render the person out versus Sonic, where it just looks. The designs overall is just. It looks weird. Like his hands are too small because we're used to him having the gloves, and so people have like stretched his hands out to look more like a glove. But then it's like at that point, why don't you just give him a glove because he wears actual shoes in the movie?
Yeah.
Like he like so it's like it's weird. Like it's weird that his hands would not be gloves. It's just white fur, but then his shoes are actual. Like his feet have actual shoes on.
Hey, people don't like American populace don't like feet.
It's weird. It's weird. Like
we
there's
don't like
so
feet
many.
Like that. We just don't like feet like that.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna wear clothing anyway, why don't you just wear the gloves?
Because we like hands, but we don't like feet.
Because I think in the trailer people said I haven't watched it back yet, but I think people were saying in the trailer you can see like where he lives or whatever. There's like a box of sneakers like that he just burns through, and it's like I don't. Just some of this stuff makes
it's for a joke. If I'm being real, it's like. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to it specifically. I still don't. I think that it's just the design that was okay in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah, it's just
like
yeah.
it's. My thing is now Alejandro hit on the fact that like artists are gonna probably not be paid to do all the shit that's being thrown up here.
And again,
but the idea is that like what are the like yes the perfect option is they bring in a team, they hire them. They pay them well, and it's going to be crunch, but they're paid well to fix the Sonic design.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us can agree. We know there is 10% of companies that might actually do that.
Yeah, if that.
And the funny part is the companies I think that would do that would care enough about the property to not fuck it up in the first.
You guys have no idea how scared I am for when the first fucking screenshots or trailer of the Gundam live action comes out. I'm gonna fucking lose my shit.
I think that'll be easy. I think
luckily. To be fair, they probably got the best studio, and Sunrise is working with because Legendary. That's they
already did Pacific Rim. They know how to do mecha.
But that's my thing.
They make kaiju and stuff, so I'm like, okay, they probably have a good idea.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine.
I don't know.
I don't have strong feelings on Sonic, but yeah. To go back to Alejandro's question, I don't have super strong feelings on it. It's a Sonic movie. I think they're doing about as much as.
I don't think there was any winning to begin with, right? Like you said, like there was no winning, right?
Because either like. First of all, like if they make it a serious Sonic movie, everybody's gonna look. Why are you making a serious Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah.
If you make it's a comedy, so like people are like, okay, this is kind of good. Jim Carrey's doing the Jim Carrey thing, and
Yo, where's my
He's in the
Sonic X
mask
live
thing.
action?
You gotta go fast. Gotta go faster, faster. Just yeah.
What's up, Strix? How's it going, man?
people trying to have a conversation with me while I'm
Yeah.
something like
Nope.
that.
That's funny. That's good.
So, let's run our way out of this topic and
Yep.
get to what I think everybody's kind of wanting to
All right.
get
So
into.
spoiler free first, or
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this will be our spoiler-free recommendations on whether or not you should go see Endgame. I can go first. I think go see the movie. I think everybody should see the movie because this is going to be a cultural phenomenon that ultimately is going to be something that's going to be talked about for years to come. Whether or not, now how you feel about the movie, I don't know. I think it's really good, but I think everybody should at least see the movie.
Shaz?
Oh yeah, no, I 100% agree. You know, it's like people have that feeling, like Strix said, where it's a cultural milestone in mainstream where people are like, man, I wish I was born in the 70s to watch Star Wars as a kid or whatever, episodes 4, 5, 6 or whatever. And 100% now it's gonna be Endgame with the payoff of like almost 24 movies, literally. So I think it's 22. So
This is the 22nd movie. Spider-Man
Yes,
upcoming
yeah.
is the 23rd.
yeah, so it's gonna be almost 24 movies. So I
What
100%,
11 years?
yeah, I 100% recommend this movie. Like Strick said, up to you whether you like it or not. But I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice, not watching it. I guess so.
Okay, so I very much enjoyed this movie, and I do recommend you watch it. Just note, if you haven't seen the other movies, don't watch it. This is very much. This movie is very much an experience. Even if it's like, even though it's not the most perfect movie, it's not my favorite movie of the MCU. There's a bunch of other movies that I would rather just rewatch by themselves. And this movie is very much tied into Infinity War. It's basically Infinity War Part 2. So even though it's not the most amazing standalone movie, seeing this in theaters, seeing this with a bunch of other people who know the content, who know the source materials, and seeing all the cool shit that happens in this movie, it's very much an experience that you have to just see in the theaters. Like I said, if you haven't seen the movie before, if you haven't seen the movies prior, just don't watch this movie. I think I saw an article that said Endgame is cool, but it's not friendly to newcomers to the franchise. It's like,
This
why would you read? Like, I think the best argument is, why would you read the 22nd chapter of a book and expect to understand everything that's going? It's like,
this movie is a love letter to fans. This
It
movie
is.
is not. This
This is a fans
movie
movie.
is not like
That's the payoff.
if you go see it, you're seeing it for the cultural impact that
Right.
Shaz was alluding to. But
Don't-
like
Don't blame us for being
100%,
confused.
100%. This again, like if you're one of those people that don't understand what people have been doing for the last 10 years and why some of us have been excited for the last since
Yeah.
that very first after credit scene in Iron Man way back.
I was
rewatched that movie
13.
recently,
I was
but-
13 when I watched that movie.
Beyond
like 10.
beyond it being good, right? Like just that after credit scene and all that ended up coming
Which
after
is
that.
crazy because they didn't even mean it for
And-
it to mean anything. They fully admitted that like we didn't even have a like it wasn't there to just mean anything more. They just kind of was like wink wink nod nod like other things exist but it just
Mhm.
people were like, oh shit, like, oh okay, like, you know.
It
Hey,
Yeah.
make good movies first before making a cinematic universe.
all right, because I'm also be real. Because if I keep talking, I'm gonna spoil something.
I know.
So
Okay.
we got 5, 4.
Well, can you put the
3.
thing up?
Oh, I'm going to toggle this on the screen. While it's up, we're talking about spoilers.
Spoilers.
So when you see that disappear, you're safe.
We're done.
Yeah, we're
All right.
done. So if
So
you want to
5,
leave now, it's been nice
4,
knowing you guys.
3, 2,